Rack and roll, shadows over centrus, Koa's conundrums. The sensation as the green scanner sweeps over his body from top to bottom is a mild tingling that he feels in his everything, even on his hair and clothing, which is weird as hair doesn't have nerves and clothes aren't part of his actual body. He had put his foot down and gotten both sisters to agree on a doctor to scan him before anything else happened. He was still upset, so this was something that would come before anything else, no exceptions. Thankfully, they were still apologetic enough to listen without protest and had come here, to Dr. Jenny's in-and-out day clinic, a place to get a basic scan and a prescription for your drugs. Dr. Jenny is a Tret woman with a touch of gray streaking through her otherwise night black hair. She's dressed so casually, he had to look down to make sure she wasn't in fluffy slippers, and the only nod she's given to her profession as a doctor is her coat with name tag. Good goddess, this is no Tret, not even close. By the stars, how are you? No, wait, it all fits together, just like in the Primeval Planet series. So he's definitely not a Tret? Nita asks as Nika stares at the wireframe readout of Koa's body. All over are small red lights to indicate something very, very different from a baseline Tret. Each readout is for a different system. The entire nervous system wireframe is red, as is digestion, respiration, muscular, and epidermis. The skeleton is only mostly red. He's further from a Tret than you are, young lady. The resemblance is skin deep at most. No, not even skin deep. He only looks like one, general features and coloration deep at most. His skin gives out an oil that evaporates quickly to help him cool down. It's loaded with pheromones too. It's why he smells like he's in season. So he's not in season? Nika asks. Oh, he's in season. From what I can tell, he's definitely in season and shows signs of having been in season for a very, very long time. Perhaps since puberty. Yes, puberty to impotence is the human reproductive season, Koa remarks, and Dr. Jenny stares at him for a few moments before shaking her head. Your nervous system is backwards reinforced and is a cross-section of evolution to higher life. The concentration of nerves in your fingers and hands should mean an incredible sense of touch. Your species evolved from major tool users, Jenny remarks as she looks over the wireframes. What did your kind eat when evolving? Your digestive system is more akin to a blast furnace that uses acid instead of heat. Technically, almost anything as long as it's not too toxic or too sharp, but that's what tasting and chewing are for. Koa supplies and she nods. Yes, I suppose chewing glass would be dangerous for you. The pheromone content in your spit is even higher than that evaporating oil. It's called sweat, Koa remarks. The sweat then? Fine, Jenny asks, before bringing up the wireframe with his organs clearly visible. These two here, these are a pair of powerful filters for the blood, but they have strange glands on top that are loaded with powerful chemical cocktails. Those are the kidneys with adrenal glands. Are kidneys so odd? Koa asks. Generally, it's all done by the liver. Canidor have kidneys. Generally only one. Granted, it's half again the size of one of yours, but still just one and no adrenal glands. What do those do? They produce adrenaline, sort of an emergency combat drug. It increases awareness and reaction times while dulling pain and letting me use much more of the power in my muscles. So, you naturally produce a combat stimulant that makes you faster, stronger, immune to pain, and have incredible reflexes, Dr. Jenny remarks before squinting at the wireframe. From what I can see, you got a burst from them not too long ago. What happened? Behind the good doctor, both sisters flinch hard at the memory. A misunderstanding spilled over into a terribly bad idea. So I put my foot down, and here we are to make sure there are no more such silliness. Koa explains carefully. So now we're going with the Koa rules. If you're not sure about something, you figure it out for sure. No more assumptions. Secondly, if you're bad at something, you work on it until you get better. What happened to make you put your foot down? Something I'll be holding over their heads for a long time if they don't get it through their heads that they need to use their heads, Koa says, giving them both a hard look. I said I was sorry, Nita mutters. We moved past the point of sorry. That's why we're here. Koa answers. Doctor, could you please continue explaining all the ways I'm not a Tret? If a Tret had a quarter of the acid that's in your stomach in theirs, they'd be dead. Your bones show some signs of tiny amounts of cracking and abuse. There are heavy calluses on the hands and a fair amount of scarring. You've had a very rough life. What are you talking about? I've had a fairly normal life, Koa protests. Most men have few, if any, scars around your age, though from what I've read it's very rough and tumble in cruel space. It was fine. I mean, the first few times I saw a volcanic eruption were kind of spooky, but afterwards it became just a bit more entertainment. The occasional outbreak of disease was an almost existential scare, but we got through those fine. Shark attacks were mostly due to tourists being too stupid to look out for the beasts in the perfectly clear water and, normal, boring. What's a shark? Nika asks in a shocked tone. Sharks are an entire species of sea-going predators. Most of them have hundreds of sharp teeth, very nasty if they take a bite out of you. Thankfully, they tend to not like the taste of human, so they usually spit out whoever was dumb enough to let themselves get bit. Koa remarks as Dr. Jenny compiles all the data together onto a chit and hands it to him. You don't seem hurt. I don't know enough about your race to establish more than a basic bill of health. You seem to have the most over-the-top resilient and redundantly backed-up body I've ever seen, a trait of living in cruel space, I'd wager. Effectively, we have to work at peak efficiency with or without Axiom. Koa answers and she nods. Yes, I've actually got something here of interest, Dr. Jenny remarks before bringing up a wireframe focused on his head. I did notice something interesting. Is this about the brain? The further to the back you go, the more primitive and higher priority it has in brief, Koa explains, and she shakes her head. While interesting, I'm actually looking at the tongue. The tongue? It's wired up in a way that suggests a very sensitive sense of taste. Excuse me, we eat things that can and have killed other races. I have a shaker full of seasonings because normal food just doesn't have the amount of taste I'm used to. Koa protests and she raises an eyebrow. It's here. Is this dangerous for him to eat? The scanners say it's all deadly poison, Nika asks, handing Koa's camping shaker to the doctor who scans it all. For him, it's fine, Jenny mutters. It would kill all three of us, but it's fine for him, not the healthiest. But none of it would cause him real harm. It'll play merry havoc with his taste buds, but from how robust his digestive system is, he'd just pass all of this without much more than a stomachache. So it's bad for him? If he eats everything in the shaker in one sitting, but if he's just sprinkling things with it, then it's perfectly fine, Dr. Jenny explains. To be fair, it would taste so horrible like that. I mean, eating ground cayenne straight? No thank you, Koa remarks. A touch of salt and pepper can make anything taste great. Sodium chloride, ground pain kernels, several types of straight poison. Your seasonings are a scary list of ingredients. I keep it well away from anything I cook, but are you sure I have more taste buds than other races? Their food is so plain and unfulfilling. Yours are likely directed towards certain tastes in certain quantities. I'm guessing your world has heavy-duty competitive evolution, right? Yes. Well, in that case, a lot of food will be at least mildly poisonous to ward off predation. Growing used to those poisons and learning which ones mean a better meal is a survival trait. No doubt there are some things that you'd back away from eating no matter the circumstances. Sure, tainted, rancid, or rotting food is a no-go. Most rough grasses and flowers are fairly bad. The wood of trees is too tough. Things like that, Koa says, and Jenny nods. That's it exactly. You're so used to the dangers of your home world that your sense of taste and smell are keyed into those, but without the fight that you're used to, most of our food tastes rather plain. Although there's probably some areas where the food still tastes fairly good. Most meat products are good if properly prepared. Fruits and sweets are all right, but vegetables and things that need a lot of cooking are generally fairly plain. And considering that my kind eat cooked meat almost exclusively, it's like frying out the flavor at times. So many races want their steaks as charcoal bricks that I can barely understand it. Most omnivores don't like their meat bloody, Jenny remarks. Fair, but boring. Overcook and you may as well be eating boot leather. Undercook and we can grow sick. With some meats it's the same for my kind, but the ones you can eat raw, the ones you can sink your teeth into and taste that bit of life. Koa licks his lips at the thought. Hungry? Pining for a steak, a slab of thick meat with both sides having salt and pepper seared into them, some fried veggies on the side, and a roast potato with sour cream and chives. It's a treat. Granted, you call pepper pain kernels, so I think I'm the only one here who'd like it. Doctor? Nika asks. Yes? Is there anything we should know about that might get him hurt? Is everything that's safe for a Tret safe for him? She asks, and Dr. Jenny considers the question before turning back to the wireframes and then looking through a readout. He needs a lot more water than any Tret alive, 2 times as much in the average day. He also needs to eat half again as much to maintain all these extra organs, although from what I can tell he's already eating plenty to maintain his physique. He likes to do the cooking. He always eats more than me and Nita together, Nika says before considering, and then nodding to herself then to Nita. That's about enough now. Oh, excuse me, Jenny remarks as she steps out of the way of the sisters who solemnly walk up to Koa and look up at him with shimmering eyes. If you think, we're sorry, they wail as one and latch onto his thighs to bury their faces and sob into his waist. Koa begins before looking to Jenny with a baffled expression as she giggles. You're the one married to drama queens. How did you not see this coming? Jenny asks, as Nika and Nita blubber into him, climbing up then burying their faces into his shoulders. This is clearly planned. They don't normally plan this, Koa says over the sobs. I was thinking hard since you got angry that we'd need to both say we're sorry, and we are. We were saying you were something you weren't, and we were wrong each time. It was wrong, and were you being honest when you said humans come from cruel space? Nita explains between sobs before seemingly startling herself out of crying. The planet Earth in the Sol system, which is deep inside cruel space? Yes, Koa answers. And there are just as many men as women, Nika asks. 100 to 100 is the ratio. I don't know the specifics as to what makes us different in that regard, but I do know that men come out as often as women. The hows and whys I don't know, Koa says. And you said something about seeing volcanoes erupt. Is Earth a burning volcano world? Nika presses and he shakes his head. No, but the part I lived on has a few active volcanoes. I'm Hawaiian, meaning I trace my ancestors back to a chain of small tropical islands with several active volcanoes. I grew up there as well, and there's so much beauty to it that people from all over the world travel to vacation on our little island paradise. What else is it like? Nika asks, and he smiles. They're asking questions and listening, which means they're going to start to grow. Good. That's good.